Hi, I'm Stacie Satery, and I'm here with the Charlotte Mason Plenary with Leah Martin today, who is going to be our preschool circle time teacher for the co-op this fall. And we are here to ask Leah questions and find out more about this amazing opportunity for your little ones who often get left out of the mix. Leah and I were just talking before the show how sometimes as our kids get older, we tend to follow the older learner, and those little ones get left out. Or maybe you're new to homeschooling and you're not quite ready to start official schooling and you want to see some ideas for the early years. Leah has you covered. So Leah, if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, and then I've got a whole list of questions here for us to cover.
Awesome. Thanks, Stacie. Okay, like Stacie said, my name is Leah Martin. I was a teacher actually at an Ambleside school that used Charlotte Mason's philosophy for 2 years. And then when my second child was born, I left, and I had this 2-year-old who just really wanted to learn. And I had no idea how to apply the philosophy that I had been learning and using to the early years. So since then, I've really made it my mission to learn about the early years and learn how to nurture our littlest learners in the Charlotte Mason way. And so now I have 3 kids that are 8, 5, and 3, or almost 4 and almost 6. And so my little guys are still in the early years, and we'll do an informal kindergarten with my son this year, my almost 6-year-old. So it's really fun for me to teach these things and to learn about Charlotte Mason and to find ways for families to use her methods in their home too.
And so with Charlotte Mason, I know that officially she began schooling at 6. Did she give us guidance for the little years?
Yes. In her first volume, Home Education, there is so much about the early years, which she said 0 to 6. She thought that these little ones should be doing most of their learning through their senses. So exploring outside, or listening to different sounds, touching things, paying attention to the smells or tastes in food. So things like that were really important to the early years. She also didn't think they needed formal lessons, that what they really needed was time to play and to run and explore. And I really think that's true. As a former public school teacher too, I think that kids really have been lacking that time in their lives. So what I've also noticed over the years is that a lot of families just want something to do with their children. When they have young ones at home, maybe they're eager to learn, or maybe they just are wanting to know how to fill their time. They're feeling kind of antsy during this time. So that's what I've kind of been doing in the past couple of years, is figuring out what it would look like to do activities that's not necessarily a curriculum in your home if you're a Charlotte Mason family.
So tell us a little bit about the schedule, because I think you're one of the unique ones in the co-op. You're going to be teaching more than once a week, right?
Yes. I decided to do it 2 days a week because little ones do have a shorter attention span. I didn't think an hour in one fell swoop would be wise, especially with online settings. So 2 classes, Tuesday morning and Thursday morning, and that will be 9:30 Central. Both of those days. And I think my little guys will be joining me too. My plan is to put them at the kitchen table out there on their own iPad while I'm here. We'll see if they figure out that I'm in the next room and think that's strange. But my thought with that timing is that while mom is working with older kids for lessons, or maybe she's just preparing for the day and drinking her coffee, I thought she would enjoy maybe a half an hour where she knows her kids are being nurtured. It's not TV screen time, it's meaningful learning and stories. So that was kind of the thought behind that timing of the day and the half an hour time frame.
So it is okay for moms to walk away from their kids during this time?
Yes. Okay, everything will be guided for the kids.
Very good. Now, what about, I know there's going to be some handicrafts in there. How
Mhm.
will that look if mom's not present?
Sure. The handicrafts are very simple, and the ones that are not a little more hands-on, we'll not do those together. We'll leave those for mom to tackle if she wants to, but the really simple ones we can do together. We'll just have all the materials ready. So I'll send out a list, and I'll send out what needs to be prepped. And then you can have it set up by your child, and they can work with us together. So it'll be really simple things that a little one can do without help, like gluing things or leaf rubbings, things like that.
And what kind of supplies will be required? You're requiring the book, The Idea Nest, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is the Idea Nest Volume 2 book. And there's 2 volumes. So Volume 2 is the one we'll be using. It has an entire supply list. Ooh, there's my camera in the middle, or right at the beginning. And so they're all pretty simple supplies, but the ones that we'll be doing are more even simpler. So construction paper and cardstock, and maybe make some different doughs that are not heat, like you don't heat, you just mix, that a little one could do, things like that.
And so do they need to collect everything on that material list, or will you let them know the class before specifically which supplies they'll need?
Yes, I'll let them know before, but a lot of these things are repeated, so it's not really even this many overall.
And I bet a lot of those things are around the house already anyways.
Yes, yeah. Exactly.
Perfect. Now, what if they miss out on class, but they don't want to miss the activity and the video? Are they able to catch this on a replay?
Great question. Yes. So the videos are recorded. And so if you miss it, or maybe your little one is just having an out of sorts morning, like we've been having today, that's okay. You can just watch it whenever they're recorded, and you can go back and watch it.
You know, actually, that would be good, because you know how kids like to rewatch their favorite things?
Yeah, that's true.
I could see them like rewatching this again and again, especially if it's a story they loved.
Sure.
You don't know how many times my kids have watched some episodes of Reading Rainbow. So yes. I could see that replay, because all of the co-op classes will be available. If you miss them live, you can see them on the replay. But this in particular might be a lot of fun to rewatch, even if they're there.
You're right, Stacie. Good point. You're right. Little ones love hearing the same story over and over again, and it's really good for them too. So that would almost be like a to-do. Watch it again.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So when you're like, oh, I need something else on Wednesday to do, you're like, rewatch Tuesdays.
Yeah. Oh, great idea.
Now, I think a really hot topic for moms that are new to Charlotte Mason or that have little ones is habit training. I remember when my kids were little, habit training was a big deal in my head. And I'm pretty sure that all that obsessing about habit training really paid off in the long run, but it was kind of stressful for me as a mom, you know, with the idea of habit training. Are you going to be covering habit training in your class?
Yes. Habit training is something that I think is really important, and even just talking about it every week or a couple times a month, I think is helpful, because kids start to think about it. Even the littlest ones can remember, like, oh, we talked about it. So some of these books that I have listed that I'll read during class have habit themes, or revolve around the theme that we'll be talking about for habits. So we'll read those books. We'll talk about the habit things. Sometimes there's little object lessons that we can do surrounding the habit, and that's just a sweet way to get kids thinking about it and to help them remember, oh yes, we were talking about that. And that's finally how those connections are built in the brain, is thinking about it.
And that's just it. Like those habit training connections, they're not like magic. You don't just like say it one time and voila, you have this kid that follows these habits. It is repetition after repetition after repetition. And yes. I remember, you know, Charlotte Mason talks about how, you know, you don't let it slide at one point, like, oh, they've got it, you know, like you were on it forever and ever. And to us as adults, we're like, oh, the repetition is killing me.
Sure.
But that's what's building that pathway in their brain.
Yeah.
And so while we're going insane with the repetition, we're actually doing a service to them, because we're forming that I'm telling you, habit training is so hard in the beginning, but so worth it in the long run because, it really pays off, especially when your kids get older and they're like these little self-motivated, attentive, obedient, respectful children because of all that habit training.
Wow.
All the time you put in when they're little.
Yeah, that is so encouraging, Stacie. It's good to hear because when they are little, it does feel like, is this working?
It does exactly.
Are they learning?
You're like, this can't be working because I just told them. I remember when one of mine was little, we had a door that went to the kitchen, and then there was like a laundry room, and then it went out to the back, to the backyard. And if they left that door to the laundry room open, we would get flies in the house.
Yes.
And I remember, I don't know how many times I had to say, shut the door. You forgot to shut the door. Well, then I learned that Charlotte Mason didn't necessarily say, shut the door. She would say, did you forget something? And, part of me was like, I don't want to even take the time to say it because I don't want another fly in here. But I started saying, did you forget something? And then, oh yeah, I forgot to shut the door. Or, as a mom, sometimes it's hard to get up from what you're doing, go outside and chase that child and say, honey, you forgot something. You forgot to shut the door. Yeah. But it's worth it because, when they do it and they go through that process of doing it, it makes that pathway in the brain. I mean, Charlotte Mason was like well beyond her time because that was before all the brain research had been done.
Yeah.
And, it's amazing because
you read parenting books.
Yes. It is so amazing. So
I love
amazing.
that.
And I really don't feel like habit training stops when our kids get to a certain age. It's like a lifelong. I mean, I don't know about you, but I have to work on habits myself.
Yes,
it's
I agree.
Maybe mine are a little less, catastrophic to the family environment when I don't follow my habit, but it's still that, it still affects everybody around me. So
sure.
I'm excited that you're offering the habit training with the class.
Yeah, thank you. I think that'll be good. And even just to hear ideas on habit training and then, to give parents an extra layer of support in that, I think will be helpful.
Yes, I agree. It's going to be so much fun. I told Rachel earlier, I wish I could go borrow the neighbor's kid so that we could take your class because I don't have any littles anymore. So we're not going to be able to take it. But it seems like, especially for moms that are new or that maybe that are new to Charlotte Mason and, maybe they want like an official curriculum. This is a good way for them to see that the little years really they're not a stressful time. They should be an enjoyable time, where learning is kind of masked as play.
Yeah, exactly. I think we kind of conflate what the world says about education and then what Charlotte Mason said. And so I think having someone say, you can let go of these crazy expectations and read good books and focus on nature and play ideas and in little nursery rhymes. I was reading, I'll have to check my source, but it said children who know 8 nursery rhymes by the time that they're 4 end up being the best readers in the future.
Wow.
And that was amazing to me. So things like that, again, Charlotte Mason just was right, lined up with the research that didn't even exist at that point because they were so important.
So important. And I feel like we get overwhelmed as moms with those little years. Like, we see those books like What Your Kindergartners Should Know. And, everybody's putting their kids into these crazy, amazing preschools. But, for some of us that are wanting to take a step back and follow Charlotte Mason, I want to encourage you moms. All of my kids were raised in the early years, according to Charlotte Mason, and they're all well beyond their grade level. And they're amazing people. Like I actually like my kids. I like hanging out with them and I can have conversations with them. Even my teen who's, he's not your typical sulky teen. Like I can sit down and have a real discussion with him. And I totally attribute that to sticking with Charlotte Mason through the years. Wow. So I feel like this class that you're offering is just an amazing opportunity for moms to see, oh, this is not as complicated as I thought.
Sure. Oh. Well, it's so encouraging to hear your perspective from coming through, not all the way to the other side, but, to teenagehood and seeing the differences in your children and the growth in them over the years. That's so encouraging because I think it's hard when you're in the early years and the messes. It's hard to have the big picture in mind. So it
really is. It really is. It can be really easy to get caught up in everything that's going around. And, we're really bad at comparing ourselves and our kids to everybody else. And, social media makes it that much more tempting to make these comparisons. But Charlotte Mason assures us that each child is a born person. And, it's not fair for us to compare them because they're all at different points. So I love that Charlotte Mason respects the child as a whole and that we can follow, what that child needs, whatever that might be. So this is just going to be fabulous. And I'm assuming that a lot of your activities are going to be hands-on, sensory. The little ones, they love that that's how they learn. That's how they take in all that amazing information.
Yes. Oh, definitely. Yeah. Hands-on and movement. We'll do some movement with nursery rhymes and songs and things like that for little ones.
Oh, that's going to be a lot of fun. So Larry Joe says, I love that habit training is a part of CM. We still write the habit we want to work on each month on a whiteboard. It's true. It is a gentle reminder to become well-rounded, Larry Joe. You're exactly right. Yeah. I think that it's, I don't, like I said, I don't think that we really outgrow habit training. I think we just, we have to keep working on it forever and ever and ever.
Yes.
So
adults.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is hard.
I
think the hardest part of parenting is looking in the mirror and saying to yourself, ew, I have a lot of room for growth. So imagine helping your child at such an early age, at this preschool age, to already start to form those habits and to be exposed to good literature and to be out in nature. If we want to make good scientists, we have to teach them to be observant. And the best way to do that is to be out in nature and, doing those things. So, and I love, you mentioned leaf rubbings. It's such a fun project. Now I'm trying to think of, Katie's my youngest. And, I was telling you before the show that when I first got out the finger paints one time when she was younger, she was like, ooh, what do I do with that? I was like, oh, you don't know what finger paints are. And now I'm thinking, does she know what a leaf rubbing is? I might have to go do leaf rubbings with her because I'm not sure she's ever done any. But those are the things that are so fun about the early years.
It's so sweet. And it's magical to them where we're like, oh, leaf rubbings. Okay. And then for little ones, they don't know that when you rub it with the crayon, it's going to show up and you're going to have the exact same thing on the paper.
You're exactly right. You're magic. Totally right. It's a lot of fun for them to be able to make those connections. And I love that this is going to be a live class. So there's even an aspect of community. And I am curious, how does that look? Well, maybe we're going to find out, right? How does it look at the preschool age to have them in a Zoom class together? I would imagine they're going to learn a lot about taking turns and sharing.
Yeah.
Even if it's not sharing the way we would physically in a classroom, they've got to learn to share the space with one another. I like that.
Yes. And things like introducing yourself, things like that are maybe lost to some kids now that aren't getting to get out as much because of COVID. But learning how to take turns and learning, sometimes maybe learning where the mute button is.
Yes, it's true.
But also learning to listen when others are introducing themselves, or learning to speak clearly when you're saying your name. Because if mom is in another room, then your child's going to have to learn how to say their name clearly. We tend to bail them out, right? I was with my daughter.
Yes. We tend to speak for them.
Yeah. My daughter is 8 and people couldn't, her name is Hadley. And somebody last night thought her name was Ashley because she's so quiet.
Yeah.
And I just jumped in and, oh no, she's 8. Like she needs to learn to say it in a way that adults can hear it. So
I love that.
Think that'll be important.
Well, and you know what else I was just thinking? Maybe Charlotte Mason covers this in home education, but I almost feel like the community of circle time with the nursery rhymes, it's like a precursor to recitation, because they're going to get into recitation even as early as Form 1.
Yeah.
And I never really thought about it, but we did a lot of like nursery rhyme chanting when the kids were little together, and I think that kind of gets them ready. But I like that in a Zoom setting, they're doing that. Recitation is meant to be an art. It's meant to be enjoyed with groups of people. And sometimes in the family setting, we lose that because we're family and we're always together anyways. And so it's really neat when your kids get to practice recitation in a public setting. And this is a great way for them to kind of practice recitation without actually practicing recitation.
You're right.
So that
You're
they're
right.
ready when recitation really comes along.
Sure. The speaking part and in front of other people. And that's such a good point, Stacie.
Yeah, it's going to be so much fun. I'm telling you, I'm going to have to borrow a kid because I want to sit and listen to stories and sing songs. And I mean, sometimes we still do that even here, even though my kids are a little older. I mean, we still do like a morning time where we do some of our subjects together. But sometimes I'm like, oh, ditch the school books. Today we're doing all picture books, and we love our folk songs.
So sweet.
Yeah, well, and
good for the soul.
It's good for the soul, exactly. And our campfires are amazing. When we go camping and we do a campfire, it's so wonderful to hear my kids sing all of their amazing folk songs. And they've got all these stories to tell because they've been at my feet since they were little, learning this way of life.
Sure, that's so fun.
We can just let kids be. We can just be kids ourselves. Yes, absolutely, Larry Joe. I think I have not grown out of my childhood yet.
No, and maybe more adults need that because we're all walking around stressed with low-level anxiety all the time.
It's like they're in the background all the time.
Yeah.
Well, Leah, do you have any other? I covered all my questions that I had for you. Do you have anything else that maybe I didn't touch on that you want to talk about?
Well, I've had some questions rolling in over the past couple of weeks, which have been really great. I'm thankful to hear them. Somebody asked, well, what if my kids are just like outside the cusp of the age? And I'm being called. Just a second, buddy. Yes, buddy. Yes. Okay. I think with Charlotte Mason, kind of like we've been talking about, it's not a dumbed down thing. Even the early years, it's not dumbed down for the little ones. So if you have a child that you think would benefit or like to join a sibling and they're maybe a little older, or they're 6 and they're in kindergarten or starting formal lessons, but they would still enjoy this, that is totally fine. I purposely didn't create something that was only specifically for 3 or 4 or 5-year-olds. I love it when the whole family can join in. And my 8-year-old does the things in this book often with us and loves them. So I just wanted to encourage people who are wondering, well, do I leave one of my kids out? No,
that's a great question.
Really, it's for designed to be for multiple age ranges.
Well, and that really carves a little space for mom. If, like you were saying earlier, like if she needs to grab her coffee and, plan the day, that's a perfect time to put everybody, when I said that I was going to be talking to you today, my kids were like, oh, are we in her class? And I was like, y'all, you're not in preschool. You're like old. And they were like, well, it still sounds like a lot of fun. Like, if we had one in that age group, I would sign us all up.
Yes.
Just because they all still enjoy that no matter what age they are. So I feel like that would be a really beneficial thing to have something like you said, it's not the same as screen time. It's not the same as saying, all right, go watch this while I get ready for the day. It's something where they're interacting, they're building community, they're meeting other kids and getting to be together.
Yes. Yes. I'm really excited about it. I can't wait to meet all the little ones.
Oh my goodness. You're going to have your hands full.
Yeah.
I remember, when I was studying for my master's and we had to go, see like each level of school, I remember walking into the preschool setting and thinking, oh my gosh, it's a very special person.
Yes.
And there were like 20 kids talking to me all at one time. And I was like, who do I even listen to? There's so much energy and it's so fun. There's such fun at that age. But I was like, takes a very special person. And Rachel was just saying today, like, yes, and Leah is that person because you've got the personality for being right there in the moment with them and not going crazy from the chaos. So who knows, maybe it won't be chaotic at all. You're handling the chaos in your own home very well right now.
Thank you. Real life examples here.
That's right. Well, Leah, thank you so much for joining me. And I won't keep your son any longer since he clearly needs you. So you go and be with him. And we will be seeing you next week, starting for Circle Time. So I'm excited for all of your lucky little learners that are going to be joining you.
Thank you so much, Stacie. It was so great to talk with you today, and just appreciate your encouragement and your, vision for the homeschooling journey. So thank you.
Oh, it's going to be wonderful. Yeah. All of it. It's all going to be wonderful. So y'all enjoy your semester with Leah, and that's it. Thank you, Leah.
Thank you.